Okay, hello, and welcome everyone. I am so excited to have you here at the Fierce Kindness Community guest speaker event with Maegan Megginson. She's in the lovely pink sweater there today. Um, so, our shared purpose in this kindness community is simple but powerful. Number one, we want to connect globally, and we can see we've got people from around the world here today. We also want to grow ourselves. Not just about being kind in the world. It's also about learning self-kindness, learning to manage our inner critics, set boundaries, strengthen our resilience, and learn how to enjoy life in these challenging times. Because a kinder world really does start with us. And number three, the purpose of our community is to be a force for good in the world. And I know we have a lot of coaches, a lot of carers, a lot of helpers, leaders in this community. And so this is obviously a passion for you, but we want to collectively come together and get some support on doing that. But today we are focusing on growing ourselves, and our fabulous guest speaker, Maegan Megginson, is here to help. So, a little intro. Maegan is a business mentor and licensed therapist who helps entrepreneurs recover from burnout by creating more sustainable and energizing ways to work. Now, she has a lot of experience as a healer and, let me just check here. Yes. Oh, my goodness. You were a seven-figure business owner as well. And her unique magic weaves together the practical and spiritual elements that we need to create successful businesses and truly wealthy lives. She is the host of Deeply Rested, which is a wonderful podcast you can find on Spotify. I've listened to quite a few of those episodes and I really enjoy them. And she also has a newsletter that helps people that are doing good work in the world take good care of themselves. So Maegan has said she will pause often and ask for questions as we go. So you can put those in the chat. We will both be monitoring those there. And I think it's time to hand over to Maegan. Maegan, okay. Take it away.
Emma Louise, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I'm going to close the participant box now, Emma Louise, so I won't see people who are in the waiting room anymore, if that's good for you. And hello, good morning, good afternoon. I would love, hello. I would love for you, if you're comfortable, to turn your camera on for this session so we can see each other. And if you're not comfortable with that, of course, that's fine. But just invitation here to turn your camera on. And I would also love, just for a moment, if everyone would please unmute yourselves. And on the count of three, I invite you to say hello. 1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, thank you. There's something so grounding about hearing each other's voices and opening up channels of energy between us so that we can feel more deeply connected with each other, even as we sit here together on Zoom. So just take a moment to look around your screen, to look at all of the different faces in these Zoom squares. You can even pretend that you're making eye contact with another, and just let your nervous system arrive and feel that we are here today in community to do some really powerful work, specifically about our relationship with rest and how we are taking care of ourselves, which is more important now than ever. Because I don't know about y'all, but my life it's chaotic, and everywhere I look, there's more chaos, there's more pain, there's a lot of things that aren't kind happening all around. And how do we come back into our own steady centers as individual people so that we can be beacons of light and kindness and love in the world? And it starts with being able to drop in to ourselves, to rest our bodies and our spirits, and to open our hearts to being in community with each other. And I would love for us to really to have a felt experience of doing all of those things together today. So welcome to Radical Rest. I would love, before we jump in, could you put a 1 in the chat if you are an entrepreneur, and a 2 in the chat if you are not an entrepreneur, just so I have a sense of the balance of this group. 1 if you're an entrepreneur, 2 if you're not an entrepreneur. Okay, great. Lots of entrepreneurs and a beautiful handful of folks who are not. Great, thank you. I will make sure that I keep the work we do today kind of tilted more towards the personal growth and less towards the business growth. And I'll say just a few things at the end about how you can weave some of what we're doing into your business or into your work in the world, even if you're not self-employed. I think there are definitely aspects of this journey that you can apply to whatever you do. So let's get started. I am Maegan Megginson. Thank you, Emma Louise, for introducing me already. I'll say just a few more things to orient you to how I'm approaching this conversation today. I am a growth strategist for business owners, and that really bridges both personal growth and business growth. And how do we integrate those two things together? I'm a spiritual advisor, and I'm also a sabbatical coach. So I'm looking at the big picture. How does the unseen world interact with the inner world, interact with the natural world, interact with the business world? How do we weave all of these things together so that we can create really good growth in our lives and in our businesses? You can find my podcast, Deeply Rested Podcast, if you are a podcast listener. And I would love for you, if you feel connected to the work we're doing today, to subscribe to my newsletter, which you can find at deeplyrested.com/newsletter. Here's what we're going to do together today. We're going to answer 4 questions, and we'll focus on the first 3 primarily for this workshop. First, we're going to get clear on what rest means to you individually. We're going to talk about why rest is so hard. Why do we have to give time on a Tuesday? Or what's today? Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday. Yeah. Why do we have to give time on a Tuesday to talk about rest? Why is this a challenge? And then the bulk of our work will be learning how to define rest for ourselves. And then I'll touch briefly at the end about how to integrate rest into your business, into your work without threatening your livelihood. So before we begin, I would love for you to put your feet flat on the floor, eyes closed, one hand on heart, one hand on low belly. And let's take 3 deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Letting each breath become longer, deeper. Feeling your connection to the earth. Feeling your heart beating underneath your hand and remembering that you are alive. You are here in this beautiful animal body to be alive on the planet right now. And because we do live in these animal bodies, these physical bodies, we have to give a lot of time and attention to how we are tending to ourselves physically, emotionally, energetically. So just allowing yourself to land, center, breathe right here at the very beginning of the work today. And as you feel ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the screen as we answer the first question of today's workshop. What is your definition of rest? And I would love for you to put this directly in the chat so we can be in dialogue with each other around all of the questions I'm going to ask you today. What is your definition of rest? Put it in the chat. I guarantee you there are no right or wrong answers. Everything is information. Rest is being calm and peaceful, having energy. Rest is intentional stillness. Rest is when I stop doing and I just practice being, disconnecting, being at peace. Rest is when I'm unplugged, not having to watch the clock. Rest is taking a break from busyness, sitting still with minimal agenda, not having a to-do list, an activity that allows me to settle in and down, anything that allows my mind and body to recharge. Rest is time for me to think, be creative, be still, deliberate connection to the present, being unplugged. Wow, incredibly juicy list, taking time for it yourself. All right, so based on your definition of rest, I want you now to share on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at resting? 1 being terrible, 10 being rest goddess. You're the best. 2, 6, 3, 7, 5, 10, 3, 5, 1, 1. Okay, we are all across the board here. 7, Fantastic. I want you to make a note of this number for yourself. We're going to come back around at the end. So make a note. At age 60, finally getting to be about a 5. Barbara, thanks for hanging in there and continuing to do this work. Okay, you've got your number. Let's keep going. I want to talk about why rest is so hard and challenging. Short answer, have you heard of things like capitalism, white supremacy culture, patriarchy, colonization? These are all oppressive systems that we live inside of. And these systems are designed to keep us exhausted, to keep us busy, to keep us scared, to keep us stressed, to keep us feeling so bad about ourselves that we don't have the energy or the capacity to come into center so that we can push back and fight back against all of the people and the systems that profit, literally and metaphorically, when we are oppressed. So we could spend many, many hours unpacking every little bit that I just said there. But what I want you to know, the core piece here that's really important is that you know in every cell in your body that the reason you struggle with rest has nothing to do with who you are as a person, right? This challenge is not your fault. We are not to blame. It is very easy, especially for those of us who were socialized as girls and women who currently identify as feminine. We are really quick to blame ourselves when things aren't going well. And the work we're doing today is about pointing the finger of blame where it belongs. And that's at all of these oppressive systems that have hundreds and hundreds of years of conditioning our society to keep us tired and exhausted. So rest is hard because the oppressive systems we live inside of profit when we are tired and exhausted and too busy to push back. It is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to change it. And that's the tension we can hold together. It's not our fault that we struggle with this, but it is our individual responsibility to decide how we want to relate to rest and how we want to live our lives. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through a process to really help you get clear about how you want to care for your body as a person who is alive on the planet Earth right now. Here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to walk you through a brief exercise. And this exercise is the invitation here is just to open the door to thinking about what are the beliefs, the ideas, the constructs that you have internalized in your body about rest. And we're going to look at what I call your rest lessons timeline. So starting here in early childhood, what did you learn about rest? Moving into adolescence, young adulthood, and then into real adulthood, right? That point where it's like you got the mortgage, you got the job, maybe you've got the kids, and then finally ending on who you are today and who you want to be moving into the future. So what I'm going to do is ask you some questions about each of these 4 chapters of your life. And we're going to go through this really quickly. You could spend, a year or 2 in therapy, like really unpacking this in a deep and meaningful way. Today is about opening the door and seeing if you can call forward a couple of ahas about what beliefs you're carrying about rest that maybe don't actually belong to you or aren't serving you in the way you want to exist in your life today. So I would love for us to keep doing this in the chat if that feels right for you. If you're not comfortable sharing in the chat and you'd rather journal in a notebook, that is also totally fine. So as we begin, are there any questions? All right. Let's take a moment, come back to our breath. Remembering that the purpose of this exercise is to illuminate what beliefs, rules, stories are you carrying in your body about rest that are no longer serving you. And we're going to start with your early childhood. So take yourself back in time to early childhood. Whatever age pops into your mind, trust that that is the correct age for you to think about now. Can you recall your childhood bedroom? What was on the wall? What color was your bedspread? What did it sound like in the home where you grew up? You might think about your second grade classroom, remembering how it smelled, the feeling of chalk on the chalkboard, the name of your teacher. Invite the memories to flood back in. And then ask yourself, when I was a kid, how did I see people resting? What did people say to me when I was tired? When was I allowed to rest and how? The questions are on the screen. We're going to take just 30 seconds here. I want you to pick the question that's most alive for you in this moment and share a reflection with us in the chat. Early childhood reflections on rest. Let's take about 30 seconds. And when you're ready, dropping a reflection in the chat, a word, a belief, a quick memory. Early childhood, what do you remember? Seeing the grown-ups resting on the couch watching TV. I don't think I saw people resting at all, or if they did, they were made fun of, right? People were being rude to them, calling them lazy. My dad read the newspaper and science magazines. My mom never rested. This is a very common reflection. Dad got to rest when he got home from work in his recliner, but mom was always going, going, going. I don't recall seeing, yep, there we go. I don't recall seeing my mom resting. My dad was watching TV. Rest was at the end of the day when work was done. Brilliant reflections. You only rest when you had nothing left to give and were absolutely exhausted. Only when it was bedtime and I shared a room, which was not the best situation. Great. Thank you for these reflections. So right away, we're seeing the through line that rest is something you earn, and it's almost impossible for a woman to earn it. All right, let's move on. Closing your eyes, taking a breath, honoring these early childhood memories, and hitting the fast forward button until you reach adolescence. And maybe this for you is late high school, could even be early college, that time when life gets a little bit more serious. Maybe you get your first job or you start taking college classes. There's more expectation, there's more work to be done. So, calling that season of your life to mind, ask yourself the same set of questions. As an adolescent or young adult, how did I see people resting? What did people say to me when I was tired? And how was I allowed to rest? Or was I allowed to rest? Notice what comes up and then share it in the chat. Ten more seconds. All right. Let's see what is true and real in the chat. Debbie was allowed to rest with a quick nap after school. I was encouraged to rest, but never wanted to. Felt like a waste of time. There was always something to do. Always doing something. Didn't think of resting as a priority. Wow, my mom was the one who would tell me to rest, that I wouldn't be able to do it when I was a grown. Rest now while you can. Whew, that's a scary message. Yep, you'll have plenty of time to rest once you're dead. That was the refrain in my house growing up. You can rest when you're dead. Get up and get to work. My mother would urge me to rest. Beautiful. We have some lovely mothers in this room. Getting together with friends, going to movies. Great. Beautiful array here of experiences. Okay. Let's take a breath, honor those adolescent memories. And then we're going to hit fast forward again. And now we want to come into present day. So thinking about the adult you right now, connecting to your place in your family constellation, to your business community or your collegial communities. Tell me right now today, how do you see people, your peers, resting? What do people say to you when you're tired? When are you allowed to rest and how? 30 seconds. Five more seconds and then drop in the chat. What is true for you about rest today? Reading, listening to music. No one tells me how to rest now unless I complain that I'm exhausted. People are always tired and doing too much. I don't see much resting. My mom and I always say afternoon naps are okay. Oh, beautiful. I'm allowed to, but I don't give myself permission to because there's just so much to get done. I need to allow myself to rest, but my parents and partners still encourage me to do so. Oh, these are all so great. They're coming in so fast. So just take it all in, what's showing up in the chat. Oh, Valerie, right. Whew. Getting through that menopausal threshold. Oh, all of a sudden now I'm supposed to rest, but how? I've just been working my ass off for 50 years and now you want me just to turn it off? How are we supposed to do that? Okay, great. So just feel the reflections that are coming through for you. Thank you so much for everyone who shared. Often what happens is you see something in the chat that like ignites a memory. And it's like, oh, that was true for me too. I never thought about it that way. So when you share in community, I just want to thank you because it opens the door for so many other people to see you reflected back in them, which is the medicine of community. So thank you for your shares. All right. So if you need a second to like shake out anything that was coming up that maybe feels a little sticky or a little painful, a little uncomfortable, you can give yourself a shake or a shimmy or a wiggle. Whew, and just let that energy move through you. And we're going to move straight into our next question, which is how did that feel for you? Put one word in the chat. Or a little phrase if you feel so inclined, but just a quick check in. How did those reflection prompts feel in your body? Debbie's like, let it go. Validating, fabulous, good, needed. Dragging, affirming. Resting isn't easy. I am glad I'm not alone. Deanie, yes, precisely. Thank you. Next question. Can you identify in the very brief reflections we've been doing so far something you learned about rest, about productivity that you firmly disagree with now? So we already named you can rest when you're dead. That is something I learned that I do not agree with. I reject. What is something you learned that popped up for you in these reflection prompts that you are ready to say, not for me? Put in the chat. Resting equals laziness. Oh, yep. Second. Okay. Here they come. All right, great. If that's true for you, yeah, put it in the chat. Resting is lazy. Only lazy people rest. Ooh, we could get into the societal underpinning of that story. Great. Anything else that you would like to have witnessed by the community now that you're like, this isn't mine anymore. I'm releasing it. Taking rest for granted. Resting means I will never advance. Resting isn't productive. Rest is earned. That's a big one, right? I have to earn rest. resting requires permission. Rest is sleep. Great. We're about to get into that, Sophie. Resting makes me feel guilty. So really let yourself right now feel the power of releasing, of speaking and releasing. Rest does not mean I'm lazy. Whatever you need to say, like actually say it out loud in your space right now. Whatever is true for you, speak it aloud. I do not need permission to rest. Rest is productive. I will not take my rest for granted. However, you need to speak it and voice it, let it be known, let it be true. And let's just feel the power of releasing the old stories that were never ours to begin with. And now we're going to move into what rest does mean for us. What is it that we want to claim, that we want to embrace? How do we define rest for ourselves individually? Oh, Debbie, I'm so glad that felt good. Just the tip of the iceberg. We're just getting started here. May the rest of our lives be about re-narrating what is true and real for us as individuals, because life is supposed to feel good and joyful and pleasurable. Nothing else will do. Okay, I digress. Let's redefine rest for ourselves. I'm going to start by offering you my definition of rest. Rest for me is any activity, passive or active, which we'll talk more about shortly, that recharges my batteries and regulates my nervous system. So I want to think about rest moving in two directions to bring me back to a point of balance, right? I want to charge up my energetic battery, but I want to calm down my nervous system so that I can be here in balance. Because sometimes we're really good at resting in ways that get us off balance. For example, maybe you're really good at like dissociative rest, right? Watching TV. So you feel like rested in your body, but that activity didn't calm you down. So you still feel really anxious. Or the opposite might be true. You might be like almost hypoaroused in your nervous system, which means you're like too calm, but you have a ton of physical energy and you're like, whoa, like I'm like super deflated in my nervous system, but I got all this energy in my body. And then it's like, what do I do? How do I navigate the world? We need to bring these things into balance. So rest for me is any activity that helps me recharge batteries, regulate nervous system so that I feel cool, calm, collected, and also have the energy to move forward, to create momentum towards whatever project or goal it is I'm working on in my life. So this is the definition I'm using, but you can make up your own definition. You can take this one if it works for you, or you can make up something different entirely. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at how we rest. And specifically, we're going to go through the 7 types of rest as outlined by researcher Sandra Dalton Smith. She identified in her work 7 specific categories of rest that I think give us a really great blueprint to start to identify what kind of rest do I need to weave into my life. So we're going to take a look at that together. And to do this, I have a worksheet for you so you can really make this personal. And what I'm going to do is drop this link here in the chat, and you can download this worksheet. And I'll pull it up on my screen so you can see what to expect. You're going to see a Google Doc. It's going to ask you to make a copy. After you download this, you're going to make a copy. And then that worksheet belongs to you forever. And what you're going to do with me is as we go through each of these 7 categories, you're going to have space to take notes for yourself. And you can, this is called the rest menu. So my vision here for you is that you bookmark this Google Doc. And whenever you're feeling out of balance, out of sorts, you come back into your rest menu to remind yourself, what is it that I need to recharge my batteries and regulate my nervous system? So we'll go through this worksheet one section at a time. And once you've got your worksheet ready to go, drop a 1 in the chat. And if you're stuck or have questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, so that landing page, if that will give you the link to download the menu. Okay, great. We're going to keep moving here. And if anyone is feeling stuck or needs tech support, drop a note in the chat. We want to make sure that you have this resource. If you want it, you don't have to download it. If you don't, it's here for you. And we're going to start at the very top of that worksheet, looking at the category of physical rest. We can follow along on your screen. What do you mean, Emma Louise?
Well, I was just wondering if people hadn't downloaded the sheet, can we just follow along on your screen as you go?
On this page here?
Well, I meant, can we do it without the screen and just follow your presentation? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Whatever.
good.
Yeah. Whatever works best for you. The rest menu is really for you to have something so you remember what happens today and you remember what's coming up for you as truth. So if that feels like a helpful resource, great. And if you would rather just receive and look at the worksheet later, that is totally fine too. Oh, your company is blocking it. Well, Barbara, isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. That's a great sidebar conversation right there. Oh, my company isn't letting me access a resource about rest. Surprise, surprise. Okay, yes, please just follow along here with the slides and let's keep going. We're going to start with the category of physical rest because this is what most of us think about right out of the gate, right? We think rest means sleeping. Rest means taking a nap. And it's true, that is one type of physical rest. But actually, physical rest can include both passive rest, like sleeping, but also active rest, like exercise, right? Physical rest is about allowing your body to recover from physical exertion and reduce fatigue. And that looks different for all of us. So some people need a nap. Some people need gentle stretching. Some people need a leisurely walk or a power walk. Some people need intense cardio exercise, right? I have friends who cannot function if they don't ride their Peloton in the morning. Like they need that intense cardio hit. It could also be deep breathing exercises, something that's really like calming the physical body. So let's take a moment here. You can fill in your rest menu. What's true for you? What kind of physical rest do you need? Or you can drop your answers in the chat. Either way, what kind of physical rest, passive or active, do you need to help recharge your batteries and regulate your nervous system? Dancing. So, Kitty, reading a book, that's going to come in a different category. So, we're really thinking right now about the physical body, right? And like, okay, so dancing is a great one, right? Dancing, that's true for me. I don't need to do cardio. That's just not a desire that I have in my heart. But I do need to dance. And I do need to like feel myself in like free flow movement with music. And I also need 10 hours of sleep a night. Like that's just something that's true about the body that I live in. Walk, yoga, naps, yoga, walking, breathing. Beautiful. Remembering again that you are allowed to need passive rest and you are also allowed to need active physical rest that gets your heart pumping, that gets your body in movement. That is rest. It is restful to go to a cardio class if that is true for you about what you need. Great. Let's look at category number 2, mental rest. Mental rest involves taking breaks from constant mental activity and stress. It can be achieved through mindfulness, meditation, or simply giving yourself time away from cognitive tasks to clear your head. So if you're on your phone all day, if you're on the computer all day, if you're teaching or in meetings or working with clients, mental rest is any activity that just helps you turn it off. Could be meditation, taking short cognitive breaks, could be something like journaling morning pages where you're just like letting it flow out of you, could be reading, drawing, listening to music, playing Candy Crush, right? Candy Crush people get a little bit of shade sometimes, but they shouldn't because playing a game on your phone or doing a coloring book, these are all ways that we're just shutting down our minds, which is crucial to being a deeply rested person. So take some time to jot down what is true for you. What kind of mental rest do you need? What activities help you quiet the noise of your busy mind? Painting, great. Scrabble. I love reading. I love reading rom-coms. I love reading fantasy novels, just like things that take me to another world. Funny sketches on Instagram, doing a puzzle, great. Literally quieting the noise. Yep, we'll get into that one a little bit more in a second. Listening to birds, watching films, great. You got it. You got it. Let's move to our next category, spiritual rest. Spiritual rest involves connecting with something greater than yourself, such as through faith, spirituality, or purpose-driven activities. Spiritual rest is about finding meaning in a sense of belonging, which can provide deep inner peace and renewal. So some examples include participating in spiritual practices, whatever that means for you, spending time in deep reflection or contemplation, attending spiritual gatherings, engaging in acts of service for others, doing spiritually oriented mindful breathing or visualization. So just connect to a moment for a moment. How do I connect to something bigger than myself? How do I remind myself of perspective, that I am just a tiny, tiny speck of stardust in this large universe? How do I find deeper meaning and purpose? Share some examples with us in the chat. Connecting to inner wisdom, engaging in acts of service, guided meditations, chanting, Buddhist study, acts of service, beautiful. Yep, reflective journaling prompts, spiritual practices, walk in nature. Excellent. So take just a moment more to jot down a few more ideas for yourself on your rest menu. I struggle with this. Yeah. Being in nature, probably stargazing, volunteering, although this can be stressful, true. Great. Those are great examples, Sophie. Okay, great. And if a particular category feels challenging, just put a little star next to it, right? That's a great invitation that this is a space where you can spend a little bit more time, doing some self-development, which is why you're here in the Fierce Kindness community. Great idea for future workshops. All right, you might hear my dog barking in the background, so apologies about that. Okay, great. Spiritual rest. Let's move on to the next category, emotional rest. Emotional rest is about releasing the burden of managing and suppressing emotions, both within yourself and for others. Emotional rest involves creating spaces to express your feelings honestly and seek support when needed, which reduces emotional fatigue. Some examples of emotional rest include talking to a therapist, spending time with friends, practicing gratitude, setting boundaries, releasing rage and anger, letting yourself be really mad, letting yourself have a good cry, letting yourself have a good laugh. What do you do to care for your emotional self? Share some examples with us in the chat. Therapy, daily gratitude journal, time with friends, more journaling, listening to music. Yes, it's like whatever helps you express and release your emotions is emotional rest. Not managing someone else's feelings, not suppressing your feelings, but really being in full contact with your emotional state and letting it move all the way through you. This is how we create regulation and emotional rest. These are such great examples in the chat. Thank you for sharing. Let's move on to the next category. My favorite, personal favorite, sensory rest. Sensory rest is about minimizing sensory input, such as from screens, noise, or bright lights. It involves creating environments that reduce sensory overload to help your senses recover. It's also about gifting yourself pleasurable sensory experiences and stimulation. So how do you quiet the noise and feel really good in your body, including quieting the noise of dogs when we are able. So here are some example: unplugging from screens, engaging in sensory-free activities, prioritizing time for pleasure, surrounding yourself with beauty. Drop in the chat some of the things you do to recharge your senses. I love a good bath, massage, snuggling up quietly with the dog. Yes. Grounding, listening to music, sunbathing. Yes. Sensory rest is hard for a lot of people. In my previous career as a therapist, my specialty was sex therapy. And a huge part of what I did was help women reconnect to their ability to feel pleasure in the body. And that doesn't mean erotic pleasure. I mean, that's one type of pleasure, but truly any type of pleasure. How do I connect to any type of pleasure in my physical body? And this for me is what sensory rest is all about, is learning how to quiet the noise, lower stress, and feel really, really good, juicy sensations in my body. Yep. Every example here is fantastic. Let's keep going. Next, we have social rest. This is a focusing on how we balance our social interactions, recognizing when you need to step back from social obligations and spend time alone, or when you need to step forward and spend more time with people who uplift and energize you. So for some of us, social rest looks like less social media, more solo time, or it could be the opposite. It could be I needed more time with friends. I need more social connection. Maybe social rest for you is setting some social boundaries or doing something like going on a business retreat, which is one of my most favorite things to offer in my business, is creating social rest by connecting with people who really understand what I do in the world in which I live. So think about this for yourself. An easy question to ask might be, do I need more solo time or do I need more people time right now to help me recharge my energy batteries and regulate my nervous system? What is it that I need? Share with us in the chat. And of course, it can be both. This can cause conflict at home. Yes, this is so true. Quality people time, more quality people time, less low quality people time, more time with the right people, less time with the people who are not helping me recharge my batteries and regulate my nervous system. Wow, Emma Louise, isn't that the truth? More girls' trips. Yes, more making times for friends who support, inspire, and energize me. Yes, Beanie, I feel you here. As a remote worker, more people time would be lovely as long as it's with quality people. Great. So nuanced. I love the feedback you all are sharing in the chat. Okay, let's take a breath. And we are moving to our final category. Our final category of rest is creative rest. And this is about rejuvenating your imagination and inspiration. This can often happen through engaging with beauty, nature, practicing art, anything you do that replenishes your creative well and provides new perspectives. Some examples include time in nature, personal creative expression, drawing, painting, doodling, coloring books, knitting. I have so many knitters. I feel like knitting is like really having a moment. What do you do to make something that helps you express yourself creatively? Consuming different types of art. When's the last time you went to an art museum and just walked around? Or went to a concert of a band you'd never heard before? Right? How do you consume art? Engaging in playful activities, right? Creative rest at the core is about the ability to play, which is really hard for many of us. And sometimes if you're in a creative field, if you're like a designer or a professional artist, creative rest for you might actually be doing less creative work and focusing instead on one of the other rest categories. Collaging, thrifting, great. Dancing solo, going to concerts, Same, Kitty. Yeah. And I love going to a concert alone. That's something I didn't learn until like well into adulthood, that going to a concert alone like really recharged me because I wasn't worried about like, was the person that with me also enjoying it? I was like, I don't have to care about anybody but myself. That was a really big aha for me. Art classes, learning how to use watercolors, knitting, writing, painting, beautiful, playing the piano. So take a moment to jot down any other ideas for yourself. And then we're going to move into a few rapid fire reflection questions. So taking a breath as you finish filling out your rest menu, patting yourself on the back for this deep dive that you're doing right now, because by writing these things down, you're making it so much easier for yourself to come back to this in the future. That's the real gift. So let's do our rapid fire questions. First question, based on the 7 types of rest we just explored, what type of rest would you say you're already really good at? And you can say the name of the category, or you can say a specific rest activity. What are you already really good at? Napping, reading, physical rest. Quite a diverse collection here. Physical rest, sleeping in, mental rest, creative rest. Great. Everyone here, I guarantee you, you are already really good at least one thing. So let's celebrate that together. Where are we already finding ease in our rest practice? Next question. What type of rest has surprised you the most? Has anything shown up for you in the last half hour that made you go like, oh, I didn't actually realize that counted as rest? Creative rest, journaling, meditating, walking in nature, connecting with others, physical rest, spiritual rest. Scrabble is rest, sensory rest, creative, spiritual. Great. It is often true when we start expanding our definition of rest that we encounter a lot of surprises. And sometimes I'm like, oh, that thing I do all the time, that if I bring intention to it, is a type of rest. What type of rest, next question, is the most challenging for you? So what category came up that really stumped you? Or something that maybe you know that you need it, but you're just like, I don't know how to do this for myself. Active physical rest, passive physical rest, sleeping, spiritual rest, social rest, physical rest. So just naming, getting good sleep, pausing during the workday, shutting out people to create silence. We all have places where we're challenged. And this is where you can put a little asterisk, highlight it in yellow. This is the invitation, the growth edge, if you will. Oh, this is the space where I really want to like stretch a little bit and see what can I do to make this type of rest more easeful and accessible for myself. So let's try this again. Coming back to our original scaling question. Based on everything you know about rest now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good would you say you are at resting? 1 is terrible, 10 is fantastic. And as you're giving yourself your score, notice if your score has changed. I love what I'm seeing here. So tell us in the chat after you pop in your number, did your score increase or decrease? Yes. This is what I love to see. Lots of increases with a couple of decreases. And decreases, listen, this is good. This is good news. Because when your score decreases, what it actually means most of the time is that you are starting to see there is way more rest available to you than you previously imagined. So when our scores increase, it's like, oh, yes, I'm already doing so much more than I realized. And there's only room to grow from here. And when the score decreases, it's like, oh, I thought I was doing pretty good at this, but actually, there's so much room to grow from here. So take a moment to notice how you're feeling as you sit with your comparison scores, noticing how you're feeling as we move to the end of this workshop, knowing that you spent time deep diving into your history with rest, your relationship with rest, that you are actively defining your unique definition of rest that is comprised of all of these different options that are available to you depending on what your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotional self needs at any given time. That is what I love the most about the rest menu, is it gives me options no matter what is happening in my life. There is a way rest can meet me where I'm at to help me recharge and regulate and find that steady center. And what the world needs right now more than anything is grown ass adults with steady centers. People who are solid, who are rooted in love and kindness. And we cannot root into love and kindness if we are dysregulated, if we are exhausted. It is physiologically impossible. So when we bring ourselves into this center, we get to root down into love and kindness, and we get to literally be the lights, be the guiding lights in the world. And the fact that we are all here doing this together right now is, wow, so profoundly powerful. And I hope that you will give yourself permission to feel that you are part of the wave of love and light that will bring us back as a people to something more sustainable, to something more fiercely kind and loving. And you are doing that. You are participating in that. You are doing social justice work right now by being here and by weaving this work into your life after the workshop today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And let me just say really quickly, and I'm actually just going to stop my share here. I won't go into the slides about the business stuff, but just to speak for a moment, if you are a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a job, a W-2 position where you have some autonomy and flexibility, the way you can start to think about rest is that rest becomes a core part of the way that you function. So when I am coaching business owners, what I want to instill in you is that your business should pay you to rest, right? That resting is a form of productivity. Being well rested is what allows us to tap into our creative selves. It's what allows us to design new offerings and market our services. Rest is just as important as all of those other tasks on our to-do list. And it's that societal conditioning we talked about earlier that has made us believe that it's something we do on the off hours if we have time for it. So the real revolutionary act here is saying, no, actually rest is becoming a part of my core work tasks. And how can I build rest into my day? Now, you're not going to be able to take a 3-hour nap during your day, right? Especially not if you work a 9 to 5 for somebody else. But can you start by scheduling a 1-hour block of time here or there that is reserved for a recharge break, a rest break? And when that time shows up on your calendar, you open your rest menu and you say, what do I need and what is accessible to me right now? I can take a walk. Oh, I can spend 15 minutes doodling. So I really want you, as we leave the workshop today, to think about how can I put time for rest practice on my calendar during my workday? Not after, not before, not on the weekend. Those are bonuses, but actually building this as a non-negotiable task into the foundational structure of your work life. That is revolutionary. And it is possible. You can start with 1 hour at a time. You have your rest menu for support, for inspiration, for ideas. And you have Emma Louise. And you have this fierce kindness community. So you can come together and hold each other accountable and brainstorm and think about new ideas and all of the wonderful things that we can do together in community. So thank you again so much for having me, for doing this work with me. It is like such a profound honor and a privilege to be here. And it's wonderful to meet each and every one of you. So thank you. Thank you. I will pass the mic back to Emma Louise. So grateful.
Oh, Megan, that was awesome. Fabulous, super helpful. I'm just seeing all the comments in the chat. People really loved it. And it's the second time I've experienced your webinar, and I still learned something new. I loved it. And I hope everyone can see why I was so keen to get Megan in to talk to us. So Megan also has, and I think we had the opportunity to sign up for a newsletter earlier as well, but Megan has a fun newsletter to help you become deeply rested. So I'm just, see, look at all the comments in the chat there, Megan, they love it. Yes, we'll be able to recording. Well, the recording is available for paid members. I will put the recording in the community for free members for 24 to 48 hours. So I'll send an email out with that information. I'm just going to put a couple of links in the chat for you here. The first is Megan's newsletter, and the second is Megan's brand new How to Take a Month-Long Sabbatical. So this is your new direction, and it's fabulous, Megan. Just showing you, even if you think you can't afford it, even if you think you don't have time for it, if you worry your business is going to fall apart without your constant attention, you can totally take a sabbatical if you set it up right. So that's what Megan's helping you with. So I'm just going to put a couple links in the chat there for you. Megan, you're an inspiration. You're also just the way you deliver the chat. Like if you're a coach, just to see how to deliver a really meaningful and helpful presentation with the engagement and the activities and pulling it all together at the end. So it's a masterclass in actually how to run a webinar as well for those who are watching. That's what I think anyway. So a huge thank you to Megan. What a fabulous and thought-provoking session. And a big thank you to everyone who was here live today, because without you, this wouldn't have happened. And also to everyone who is watching the recording. So what else have we got coming up? If you're not already, perhaps you'd like to join the Fierce Kindness community. We have a free Fierce Kindness community that you can join. So I'll put that link in the chat there. Our next Fierce Kindness community meet and greet is coming up on Tuesday, the 17th of March. These are casual and fun gatherings where we meet and connect with each other and also shape that Fierce Kindness community together. That's really important that we do it together. And for our paid community members, we have our next journaling circle on the topic of spring cleaning your life. So we journal together with some prompts on that. That's Wednesday, the 11th of March. I'm still working on a guest speaker for April, but maybe Rachel, are you still here? Could you wave? We have our guest speaker for May, and that is Rachel. She's going to be helping us cultivate confidence in uncertain times. That's on the 7th of May. To join us at any of these, just click on events inside the Fierce Kindness community and click on the green button to RSVP. So if you are not a member of the Fierce Kindness community yet, we would love you to join us. And as we wrap up today, I'm just going to take a deep breath because, you know, we get all kind of like, it is so important to remember in this volatile and uncertain world that is filled with patriarchy and capitalism and colonization and all those things Megan talked about, those oppressive systems that keep us just doing one thing after another, exhausted, tired, overwhelmed. Kindness matters more than ever. And that kindness starts with us. And perhaps it starts with ensuring that we are deeply rested so that we have the energy to be our best selves and make a difference in the world. So that is it for today. I wish you a great March. I hope to see you soon. And a big thank you again to Megan and everyone who is here today. Bye.